Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another post-conference presser for Anfield Index. It's been a while since I did one of these because the headlines have been about maybe someone's future, but maybe a head coach, and now it's star players, and half of the world's media were in a press conference for a while, and you knew what was the question, or the questions that were going to be asked. Maybe you did or didn't expect the outcome, but there is a million and one things to talk about, ladies and gents. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from trade description, Edinburgh, because it's sunny outside, but it's absolutely Baltic. Fingers crossed if the sun's out, it's a bit warmer in the world wherever you are. But we'll talk about the various things we talk about on post-conference presser. We'll look at the questions Arne Slot was asked. We'll look at the answers he gave. And you can probably guess, or you've probably heard about some of these, but there's some that might just have been missed, I think, a little bit. We'll look back to Inter. We'll talk about the lessons from that one, the threats that Brighton bring with a Saturday at 3 o'clock kickoff. And then, of course, we'll finish with lineup, score and scorers. And based on what's coming out and different bits, I won't be surprised if we're joining each other again at some point today, but we'll see. But anyway, Arne Slot's Q&A. Said half the world's media was in the room. It was standing room only. It was a lot busier than normal for obvious reasons. And Vinny O'Connor kicks it off as he always does. Now, normally he gets 2 or 3, and he tried for about 6 or 7 in this one. And Arne Slot was quite stubborn in a certain answer. But just in case you have missed it, let's have a listen to what Arne Slot said when asked the question about Mo Salah in this one.
What's the situation this weekend? Will he be involved? If not, does that mean he's played his last game for Liverpool?
I will have a conversation with Mo this morning, and the outcome of that conversation determines how it will look tomorrow.
What do you need from him to resolve this situation then?
What I need is a conversation with him, and I think the next time I speak about Mo should be with him and not in here. But yeah, you can keep on trying, but there's not much more to say about it that I speak to him today. And like I said, the outcome of that conversation determines how things will look tomorrow.
Well, it's the afternoon now. So they pretty much had that conversation as they have, haven't you? And I'd love to know, is the club going to put out training photos and redact things? You know, there's all sorts of speculation. We can get into conspiracy theories, but Arne Slot was crystal clear. There's going to be a conversation, or there probably has been a conversation that he needs to have with Mo. And despite the attempts, which it was right to do from the journalists in this press conference, we're not going to get that. Although we're going to find out probably soon enough, is Mo Salah in or out that squad, which will probably give you a good idea of how those talks went, whether there be apologies, whether there's not, and what happens going forward. Other little bits that Arne Slot said as well around Mo Salah, there's 2 key bits. Double negative, but he was asked about his future. I have no reasons to not want him to stay. And he did, reiterate that was probably an answer to a couple of the questions that have been asked. And he talked about the decision-making process as well, saying we decided as a club, and I was part of that decision not to take him to the Inter Milan game. When it comes to the decision-making of the lineup or the squad, then it's down to me. But that is not to say I don't talk to them, as in Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. Or he did say I speak to Richard Hughes regularly, Michael less so. It was interesting because David Ornstein and others had reported on this, hadn't they, saying, ultimately it was Richard Hughes that took that, but not a big change in tack, but just a slight variation there from Arne Slot, saying when it comes down to decision-making of the lineup or squad, it is down to me, but that's not to say I don't talk to them, which we have to be honest. I've reread the reports just to check that isn't how journalists were phrasing it. Take Arne Slot at his word. Richard Hughes consulted. We work on a European-style model, don't we? Richard Hughes is Arne Slot's line manager. Yeah, it's just messy though, isn't it? Just the way it's playing out. And we're still uncertain, even now, 100% is Mo Salah in this lineup. And he talked about not to take him to the Inter Milan game. So everyone's worked off this window, haven't they? Into Milan, backwards. Well, the Saturday was Leeds, so it's got to be sometime in here that this has happened. But no, that is not what Arne Slot said. And I think a few people have not quite clocked this. This was, for me, one of the key 15 seconds of the press conference. And I think it might just have been missed by a few media outlets, but it's absolutely crucial. Just have a listen to the timeline and the answer Arne Slot gives here about talks between Salah and other parties.
In the last week after the Sunderland game, I think there have been a lot of conversations between his representatives and ours, our representatives and him, between him and me, after the Sunderland game.
After the Sunderland game, and he said that twice, ladies and gents, after the Sunderland game, not Wednesday just gone, a week before that. So we played Sunderland midweek, didn't we? And as Arne Slot said, and twice reiterated after Sunderland, he didn't correct himself. Talks then between Mo, and he mentions his representatives, which we know means Rami, the club and representatives, which we know will mean Richard Hughes, probably Michael Edwards. And those talks have been ongoing since Sunderland. That is what Arne Slot said. So you've got Sunderland, the talks. Leeds, the Mo Salah interview. Into Milan, after we knew Mo wasn't going, to today. So just to be clear, Arne Slot was crystal clear at his press conference. He doubled down on saying Sunderland twice. This isn't just reared its head after the Leeds interview. This is obviously, he gave us something there, a bit of frustration that Mo Salah's feeling. I'm not going to get into all the justified or not. That's for a different show. This is post-conference presser. But don't ignore that timeline. I think a lot of people have failed to clock that, which means this meeting today, it makes you a little bit worried in the sense of, you know, they've already had talks from Sunderland onwards over a week ago and back. And yet here we are. This is my gut, and that's just gut. It does not mean proof. There's just a bit of a worry there. It almost feels like it could be a final meeting, shall we say, but that is speculation. But I mean, those are the other bits. He talked about how we're unbeaten in 4 as well, which, yeah, not being negative, but just in case you missed this one as well.
Now as well. So I'm just wondering what platform you've given yourselves to build on that.
No, I think apart from being unbeaten, I think we've shown that have been a team in the last 4 games that were indeed difficult to beat. That was difficult to create chances against us. Team worked really hard, put a lot of effort in, but showed great resilience. Is I think a compliment to the players that were available. How they managed to get, first of all, some results, and second of all, the work rate they've put in.
Great resilience, some results. Only one of those is a win, though, isn't it? Realistically, I mean, Leeds, we can skip 3 goals. The nature of those as well. Sunderland, God, that was a boring game, wasn't it? You don't want to be all negative. You've got to try and balance this, but just take in what Arne Slot said there. And he also was asked about January and kind of nicely avoided it, a little sidestep there to the blow. Just said, I think it's helpful in the upcoming weeks. We don't play as many games as now. I'm almost happy that we're out the League Cup. Some of you will not care about the Carabao. I understand that, but I don't like that. Personally, opinion just feels a bit almost small mentality to me. Liverpool's supposed to be going for all the trophies. And yes, we are injury ravaged. I get that. We are short of numbers. But yeah, also didn't really get the update on January either, did we? But that's a different thing. In terms of injury news, it was seriously mixed. Cody Gakpo and Endo, they're out for weeks with muscle injuries. We got that. Chiesa, positive. is back. He was ill. Whether Arne sort of uses him, we all know probably the answer to that question, but we got that. And also, we got a maybe. Because for God's sake, Alexander Isak got a knock against Inter and is a doubt for the match. Did say we'll see if he trains with us today. So he's not ruled out. He's not definitely in. We'll have to see. But honest to God, if he's out again, and it's just about, 3 weeks or so with a groin injury, you know, you hope it's just injury record isn't the best, isn't it, as well? I don't think he was set up to help him at all at the moment, don't get me wrong. But when you spend £125 million on a striker, you usually will thinking, okay, one of the checks that we're doing, is it robust? Can he play the season and the minutes? Christ, we're nearly at the new year. And look how many minutes he hasn't played. So yeah, hopefully he is available for this one. But those were probably the highlights for the press conference. Everyone, of course, is just waiting for the outcome or news around this meeting. In terms of, as we always talk about, we look back to the previous game, which was Inter Milan, and the lessons we learned from that. So the lessons we learn is sometimes the ends justify the means. It wasn't an exciting game. We kept it tight, but it's a great result. Don't undersell that. Inter are unbeaten for a many number of years at the San Siro in the Champions League. That's a good team. They're in the automatic spots. They had a few chances, but we limited. There's positives to take. Let's not undersell that at all. Also, positives for me, Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai, two must names on the team sheet now. Brilliant. Two players that, considering this season's been gash, have gone up a level. Absolutely sensational in this one as well. The biggest lesson, though, that I do not like, and I can see a lot of you crowing for this on the timeline, I don't agree with this at all. Diamonds are not forever. That diamond formation requires people to sacrifice and run their nuts off for the team. There is no long-term stability, usually, in a diamond formation. It's a situational one, and the situation we're in is pretty dire in recent times, and that's why he's using it. So for everyone, and I know even Curtis Jones spoke afterwards about it gets players in and it suits them, it kills them. Look at the running stats. Alexis McAllister did over 12K. We know his injury problems. He can't do that every game. Maybe telling him put him at the tip of the diamond, you know, Florian Wirtz had a knock, but he didn't trust him deeper, did he? Maybe that's something. Curtis Jones and Dominic Szoboszlai, they can't flog themselves every game like that. We know Curtis breaks down. Hugo Ekitike was right up the running stats. Him and Isak were doing shuttle runs at times, getting no service, but working hard for the team and chasing themselves in a spin. I know some of you are saying it suits everyone. The diamond is not forever. It is situational. It runs players into the ground. It relies on midfielders who really we've got four of, because I'm not sure Arne even knows who Endo is, in all honesty. No. And yeah, Florian Wirtz can come back in and all sorts, but no, not for me. Diamonds are not forever, people. I won't be surprised as I'm saying that if we got it this weekend. And in terms of this weekend, it's a bit weird. We don't have many 3 o'clock Saturdays. Usually we're on the telly, aren't we? But Fire stick. Anyway, so it is a special game, 3 o'clock Saturday. Also because the eyes of the media will be, is Mo Salah in the squad? Is Mo Salah's family there as well, based on what he said? But we shouldn't ignore, ultimately, it is a game of 8th versus 10th. Brighton are higher in the table than us. Won 6, drawn 5, lost 4. Real mix. They score and concede. Look at that. They've scored 25, more than us, but they conceded 21, which is quite high if you look at other teams in the table. Other things to know about Brighton. I mean, they lost the penultimate game before this. They drew against West Ham at home as well. It's again where you saw they score, they concede. Annoyingly with Brighton, set pieces. They're pretty good on them. Got a few of those against West Ham. Probably should have scored more, actually, when you look back at it. It's been something that's punctuated their season. And someone who Liverpool have kept an eye on, Van Hecker, probably punctuates Brighton for me, because dangerous at set pieces, progressive in nature. Those are the cons. Not the best at defending, I'd say, overall. So this could go any way. And if you think of Brighton, they gave us a hell of a game in that 2-1 last season, didn't they? They were easily the better team in the first half. We relied on Mo Salah that day. Funny that. But, yeah, Danny Welbeck and others, Gruder. Zimas is out for the season, isn't he? A player that we looked at one time. But there are threats in this Brighton team. This will not be an easy game. And because of the way they set up and play, they will fancy their chances in this one all day long. Christ knows what I'm going to say for this bit, but we always talk about lineup, score, and scorers, don't we? Who do we think will be in? Maybe in the worst possible way, injuries mean it's a bit easier to predict than ever before, isn't it? Salah's in nets. It's BBD and Ibu in the centre-backs. And it's Joe Gomez at right-back. And the reason you can say Joe Gomez at right-back is Connor Bradley is suspended for this one. Again, if there's one thing we could just do with telling our defenders, brain-dead decisions. It's been the theme of the season. Connor Bradley's 5 yellow cards, if you looked at them, they've all been pretty stupid. There's maybe one you could say he stopped to break. I'd give you the benefit of the doubt. But even that one the last time out was stupid. Kirkez has been wild. Brain-dead decisions from Canate. It is a theme. So it's going to be Joe Gomez at right back. And I think we were a bit surprised that Bradley didn't start in the San Siro, but there you go. Which then brings left back, where I do think it will be Kirkez back in. They'll be worried about the threat of Minter down the right. Kirkez is quicker, of course, than Andy Robbo. And if you remember, Robbo got that whack on the shin for Latoro, didn't he? So the smart money says Kirkez back in for this one. Which then brings you to a flogged midfield. And I bet you more than anyone, this midfield is absolutely ecstatic it's only one game a week, because they'll be on their arse a bit from this. Gravenberch will be back in. Curtis Jones will be back in. Dominic Szoboszlai will be back in. That's what I think it will be. All three played well during the week. Curtis, excellent. Szoboszlai, very good. Gravenberch, good to very good. He's been pretty poor recently. You've got to be pointed with that. But those three, would have been happy with their performances in the San Siro. So they're going to be in. Now, I think if we didn't know what we knew in the press conference, you'd have probably gone, well, it's going to be Wirtz in for Maka, with just behind Isak and Ekatike, because we're at home. And you want to see then Wirtz, Isak and Ekatike. And if Isak gets the full okay, I think that's what you'll get with McAllister on the bench. Isak, if he doesn't get the okay, and let's be honest, Isak's fitness and injury record, I think you will see actually Alexis McAllister be asked to go again, and a variation of Florian Wirtz behind Hugo Ekatike. That's what I think you will see if Isak isn't fully set. I think Wirtz comes in whatever, just because, he played and he bright cameo, wasn't it? So that, but yeah. Isak, there was so many injuries. And some people will say, well, no, just switch out Isak for Chiesa. This is Arne Slot. When does Arne Slot ever switch in Federico Chiesa? Come on, people. Smell the coffee. You know that's not going to happen. So, yeah, the lineup, relates to Isak fit or not. Those are the two variations, which brings us to score and scorer. Jesus Christ. I mean, you look at that table, we really need to win, don't we? I think it is so important, because we've had these situations like, look who we've beat in the Champions League, like Real Madrid as well. And it looks great. And then look at the run afterwards. It can't, for Arne Slot, it can't afford to be that. But then again, do you really have confidence in this one? He's probably thinking into a bit cagey, didn't create too much. Brighton will come for us, and they'll come for the throw, and they'll come for set pieces, and they'll try and move that ball forward quickly. They've had the full week to prepare. Dear God. My heart is saying we nick a win. 2-1. Ekatike on the score sheet. That's my heart. My head is saying fancy another 1-1 draw in this. A bit like Sunderland, which were just meh. Oh, God, I hope the heart overrules the head on this one. I hope we're right. Anything else? Not like we've turned a corner anyway, but serious questions are going to be asked of the manager. And the final bit, which is a little bit separate from everything else, but because, of course, it is a whole new situation for us, one that we don't want to be in. I just get the feeling that Mo Salah isn't going to be in the squad. I do. I genuinely do. The fact that we know Arne has said, again, in case you missed it, talks in Sunderland, not Leeds. You've got to go back even further. Rami involved, Edwards, Hughes. I'm desperate to be wrong. I'm desperate for Mo to be in that squad. I'm desperate for him to, he's not going to start, is he? But come on, do something magical like he did last season against these. But we ain't convinced. There's a lot more to talk about. A lot more will come out. Keep an eye out, I suspect, because we're, chasing bits, which I'm always saying this bizarrely. We're getting info more than ever in certain elements, which I don't really want because I wanted us to always be flying and well. But me and Trev will likely be back for a transfer show, possibly tonight as well. But Friday, the 12th of December, 24 hours out or so from Brighton at Anfield. That was a statement, post-conference presser for Anfield Index.